Okay, we are live again this
You can
morning.
hit it there on the screen too.
Okay, we are live again. We are going to continue our discussion this morning. And we had a request for the maple producers, Glenn Goodrich, I believe, Goodrich Maple Farms, and Ruth Goodrich had something to share with us about, I think, weight limits on roads for maple producers. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, why don't you tell us what is your request this morning and what you'd like to share with the committee?
Well, I didn't know if there were direct questions, but basically well, let me go back in history just a little bit. Historically, nobody really ever transported sap by road to bring it from a woods to a sugar house to be turned into maple syrup. But that's changed dramatically in the past 25 years, so that many sugar houses now are transporting sap. And it's causing some. And in that same time period, there were many dairy farms transporting milk. Historically, now there's fewer but bigger dairy farms, and they're transporting milk, which is basically the same basic product. It's a liquid, it's perishable, needs to be transported on a regular routine basis. And so at our Cabot facility, we transport nearly all our sap from various locations to our sugar house to be boiled into maple syrup. At our Eden facility, we're very fortunate. All of our sap is piped direct to the sugar house. So there's been some questions and challenges about using various roads, in particular town roads that are most always just gravel roads in the summertime, but turn to mud roads in the spring. And for maple producers, that's the time that they need to transport their product. So I don't know really what the direct answer is. I think often the maple producers get blamed for the road problems that occur in the spring. Our experience is that our bigger trucks do less road damage than our smaller trucks do, simply because they have better flotation, bigger tires, and actually smooth the ruts out in the roads rather than to make deep ruts. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Yes, Senator.
Yeah, hi, Glenn. This is Senator Perchlik. We talked about this at the Farm Bureau over the summer. I just wondered if you, in your talking to other sugar makers, if they've come to the problem where the town has posted the roads and they, their sap tanks are filling up, and then they're in that position where the town's selling that they can't drive on the roads, but their tanks are filling and they got to get it to the evaporators. Do you hear that from others?
Oh yeah. Yeah, at the same time, the dairy trucks are transporting milk that has always been transported on the roads. That's nothing new, but with maple, it seems like there's no recognition for the fact that maple is a perishable product too, and needs to be transported on a regular basis. So really what it comes down to is I think we need to treat the milk trucks the same as the sap trucks. And if they're equipped to handle a big tank, just need to make sure they've got enough wheels under the truck to float the truck on the road that it's on.
Senator Ingalls has a question.
Thanks, Glenn, for coming in. And there's no question that the maple sugaring industry is changing with transportation, long distances to central positions. back a little bit to Senator Perchlik's question, has there been any enforcement actions against anybody that you're aware of?
Yes, it has. Several situations, the town has shut down the trucks from moving sap.
What's that mean? Do you pay a fine or what do they do?
Well, in some cases, yes, the producer has been asked to rebuild the road because of the damage that's been done. I don't, to be honest, I don't know legally who's right. Is it the town that's right that can stop a truck? I understand a log truck can be stopped, but logs are generally not perishable, and sap is. So basically, in my mind, sap trucks should be treated the same as milk trucks.
Is this an issue with the maple producers all over statewide? Is something that it's an issue with? I know you have an association, don't you? Or
Right, we do. And the larger maple producers are in the northern third of the state. The heaviest concentration is in Franklin County, and then progressing across, there's one very large producer in Essex County that's transporting concentrated sap. Virtually all the sap is brought in by truck, and yeah, several situations. I think if there is a difference, the big difference is the dairy farms have been there pretty much forever, and these maple woods can spring up almost overnight and catch a town unprepared to have a road adequate to handle the kind of transportation that happens.
question, yes,
Mike, is there protections at the state level with permits, regional permits or anything like that? I remember when I was on the select board where we used to get the fuel delivery trucks and the milk trucks and all, and then they would request a permit from us during the mud season time, and I think it was $10, and that protected them. I think they had to show that they had reasonable insurances and stuff like that. Is that something at a state level that happens, or is that at a town ordinance level?
So I would assume it's at the town ordinance level. The state does not have any authority over town roads. So interaction would still need to occur with the town and approval, is what I understand.
So what are they doing now? They're just violating the law, or
Well,
they getting permit from the town? How they
Yeah,
doing now?
well, when I was there, and I don't know if Andy had ran into this or not when he was there, but we used to have them, and they would say, hey, listen, this is what it is, the fuel deliveries, the milk trucks. If there was a sawmill that had to require logs, and they would come to the town, and the town would issue them the permit. And to be honest with you, even at the town level, we didn't know a whole bunch about that. We really didn't. I hate to make it sound like that, but we didn't. And so we'd issue them a permit, and then if there was, and during that issuance, they would show that they had for the proper insurance in case there was damage to a road or what have you. And
So it's a local issue, it's not a state.
Right. It was a local.
There's nothing we can do.
And
Well, we've exempted the milk trucks from the local code.
And so they're asking for.
They're asking for the same, okay, I'm just trying to get
So-
clear.
Yeah, me too.
So the towns that have fined or whatever, are the maple producers requesting a permit from the local select board and it's being denied? Or I'm just wondering in terms of the experience and in terms of the $10 permit, is it a matter of the town refusing to issue the permit in some cases?
If that question's directed to me,
It is.
yeah. So I served on the Board of Selectmen in the town of Cabot for quite a few years, and very few of those permits ever get applied for or issued, and the use happens. And I'm talking back in the 80s, early 90s when I was on the board. So if it is a real program, it's not well promoted or well used. It could be, if the towns really felt strongly to pursue that, then maple producers could be made aware through our association, and then they could apply for a permit, and everybody would know what is going on. Currently, everybody just does the thing and thinks it's okay, and nobody says yes, nobody says no until a real bad situation happens. And
Well, the recognition of why you're here, Glenn, again, is kind of what I teed it up when I first made a comment, is that it is a changing industry, and I agree with you that all of a sudden what used to be sugared before wasn't sugared before does crop up overnight, and that bush gets developed, and those trucks that have never been there in the past all of a sudden are on those roads, and it is new, and it might be time for us to do a little homework as well to find out what we need to do, because it is a changing industry, and we want it to change. We want those markets to develop and to make maple even more prevalent around the world.
Yes.
I have a question, because you made reference to some producer that was asked to repair the road. Sometimes the tanks are out on very back roads, really, and I'm just wondering, as we get into local politics, are there times, in fact, would there be use of roads that are really not designed or prepared, and could be, substantially damaged? I'm just wondering from the local perspective, relative to where some of the trucks might go, because the farms are where they are, and they've been there a long time, and obviously the roads are to accommodate. I was just wondering, are there some special considerations that come simply because of where the location of these storage tanks are?
Yeah, good question. The tanks have to be placed where the lowest drainage point is for the particular woods being considered, and so they're, and plus they generally have to be where there's available electricity to power the station. So there's a lot of issues that a producer goes through in determining the location, and sadly, very often the capacity of the road isn't a big consideration to them until it's kind of too late and the damage has been done. And for virtually all maple producers, the value of their product that they're transporting at that stage in the production is very low, and to charge a producer tens of thousands of dollars to repair a road, the income just isn't there to justify it. And so I really strongly feel that there has to be some coordination between the towns and the producers so that the town is aware of what's going to happen and what the ramifications might be. Because all of a sudden a heavy 10-wheel truck could be using a road that's never been used for anything but passenger cars, and the road hasn't been adequately prepared for the heavy traffic.
Yeah.
Have you worked with the Department of Agriculture or the League of Cities and Towns? Any progress with those two groups?
So when I was on the Board of Selectmen, I did work with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns a lot. Department of Agriculture, yeah, Anson Tebbets. I've talked with him quite a lot, not in particular about trucks and roads, but yeah, we just need to, I think, create a conduit to get the information from the producer to the town without feeling like there's going to be a big penalty to somebody, whether it be the town or the producer.
When is
And
syrup
do it.
truck? Is
Do
it truck between one sugar house and another?
Excuse me?
Woods.
Up in the woods.
Oh, in the woods, I see, okay.
I'm sorry, if I missed this, how does the volume of maple syrup compare to milk when it comes to usage on our roadways? Was that already covered?
Yeah, the trucks now are virtually the same size. You know, if you go back, and still some producers today use a standard size pickup truck with a poly tank in the back, and away they go. And then other producers are doing a bigger transport, where they might have a truck transporting as much as 6,000 gallons on a load. And that's, to be honest, in my mind, the pickup truck with a 500-gallon tank in it does more road damage than the 10-wheeler does with 3,500 gallons on board. But it's hard to convince town officials of that, even though the towns are using the same size trucks, the same weight trucks to haul gravel and winter sand and all of those things on the same roads. It's awfully easy to blame the new kid on the block for the road problem. And sometimes it's so, but it just isn't always the right method of going about it, I guess, is the really big situation.
Yeah, I think, yeah, thanks, Glenn. I don't have any more questions for Glenn, but I think we can hear from the league, and we can either have Ag in, or
Right.
I can talk to.
Right. And it might even have to go to ag.
Tebbets was at the Farm Bureau meeting where Glenn brought this up, but in Cabot, so he knows about it, but.
We will pursue this as best we can with the Ag Department and league. We will continue this discussion because we think it's a good discussion. We certainly rely on maple producers to make the state what it is, and I think you have a good argument there for trying to, help our producers as well as we do our milk producers, because we want to make sure that Vermont stays strong in both of these fields. I never realized it until you brought it up that I never thought about the sap being trucked from place to place. And I buy it to resell in gallons, and that's all I see about it in my business. But it's a good argument, and it's a good discussion to have. So we will continue this, and we'll give you an update of what's happening in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Anything
In
else?
closing,
Yeah.
in closing, I would, to give you an idea of the scope of what's happening at our sugar house in Eden. As I said, we don't have any trucks involved there. We pipe all the sap direct from every tree to the sugar house, and our furthest away trees from the sugar house are 4.5 miles. So it's a very big, extensive system, and in a good day, we can bring in 250,000 gallons of sap. And if that all came,
How many trees is that?
up there's 120,000 trees.
You tap 120,000 trees? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Only once.
If we were to bring that all in on tractor trailers, we're talking about, let me think here. And 3, yeah, that would be 30 tractor trailer loads of sap a day.
Gee.
And it's just would be an impossibility on the roads that we have to deal with there. So for us, we're really fortunate to be able to directly pump and pipe the sap to the sugar house. But not all producers are in that same basis. And
How many people
so
does it take to tap 120,000 trees?
we have a crew of 14 of us that do the work. And yeah, on the other end, we can make 5,000 gallons of syrup in a day.
Oh my God.
We fill a 55-gallon barrel every 4 minutes. And so it's big business, and it's important business, as has been brought up already. Maple is certainly the number 2 ag product in the state of Vermont, and gaining ground all the time. Dairy has been number 1 and seems to be losing some ground. And certainly the number of farms is going downhill rapidly. The number of cows is probably fairly stable, but even on the dairy farms, trucking milk is one thing. Trucking manure and silage and hay, that's a whole different game. Luckily, those products get transported in summer months when the roads are firmed up. Maple just happens to come along at the exact wrong time when the roads are at their worst. And no maple producer has any ill intentions of abusing a road. It's just kind of how things happen, and an unforeseen, if you will.
Well, I have a fellow producer who probably borders some of the land that you tap, and that's Brian Bono.
Yeah.
And he tracks it, and he does it by tractor trailer, as what you've said. And
Yeah.
I remember what Brian's got for taps, but he's up there, and he's
Yeah.
got quite a few loads coming in. So
Yeah.
your concern is real, very well taken. And as our chair said, we'll spend a couple weeks, and I'm sure you'll hear back from us.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to give some time to this.
Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And it's certainly an interesting discussion. I never realized that many trees can be tapped. It's just-
Yeah, well, and this is very new. It just hasn't been done to this scale before.
Wow.
And
That's industrial.
yeah,
It's changed.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
okay.
Glenn.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
You as well.
Yeah. Bye.
Only 14.
Oh, yeah, there's even more than that.
They leave the lines up.
Yeah, but you're still gonna go and drill every tree.
I know, but they still, yeah, once it's done.
My friend Brian Bono is, and I think he's upwards of that amount right there, right? I know they're tapping, neighboring woods. And they've got 5 or 6 people in the sugar house. It's like a regular production facility when they're going.
Hey, the train's going, by the way.
Oh my God, let's take a picture.
It's going over the bridge.
Oh,
It's like fuel.
yeah, there it is. Maple syrup.
So we have the overweight permit that, like, fuel dealers and everything, that's that, that we've talked to, that bill from the truck talks about, that we have that permit, right, that people are supposed to get if they're gonna be on any road, the $5 per town, you know what I'm talking about?
So there's state level permits that are issued, for excess weight and stuff like that.
You have to get one from each town
Correct,
that you're gonna drive on,
correct.
if you know about it. That's
And some towns do and some towns don't.
right. And then, so I think, I remember on the select board, you post them, and then that's that system that the clerk has to go enter it in that we talked about
Yes.
before. And we changed the date last year,
Yes.
right?
Well, I
But
think.
but they could do exemptions,
Mhm.
which they might do if somebody calls and say like, I need fuel. And they could do an exemption, so this is a separate issue. This is an exemption to the town's posting. It's not an exemption to the state.
Correct, because they're town roads.
So would be preempting kind of that local position.
That's what we're doing now with the milk.
I
Well,
understand that.
but Jane raised a good point, and so did Glenn, is that some of these places, all of a sudden, these
Yeah.
bushes get developed, and these roads were never intended. Where these farms, you don't have very many farms just cropping up, and then all of a sudden, hey, I gotta get my milk out of there. You know, there's been decades or generations of making sure that those roads are passable in that situation. So, I mean, sometimes when they're trying to cite some of these properties and say, hey, that'd be a great place, they're gonna have to take into consideration about what the roads are and expect that maybe they would have to do some upgrades.
I mean, a very expensive upgrade for,
Yeah,
so
so maybe they need.
for a single use almost.
Exactly.
They don't need a permit. The town doesn't know until.
Well, that should be coming to, it should be coming into the conversation of developing that bush before they just go and do it.
You wouldn't need a permit to put the tank.
Oh, no.
So there's no permit, so the town doesn't know.
That's
Right, right. So they don't know until after the trucks start rolling. Like you said, and the town's like, oh, wait a second, you can't roll
Well,
this.
where do you truck it? It all comes into your sugar house. You tap 120,000 trees, it comes into your sugar house. Why, where do you, where
In
do you?
that distance, they don't know, but other places, you
They
just
have like
bring
a
it
bulk
down to.
tank and all the, I haven't just seen them on, it's
The
not.
truck pulls up, they fill up the truck, and that truck goes to the sugar house.
So there's a lot of them along dirt roads where they have the storage tanks.
I think the word that was used that's probably most effective, Senator Kitchell, is what you use. It's industrial. It's industrial, and it's not the mom and pop sugar maker anymore, and there might have to be some other serious considerations that might even get beyond this committee, that have to involve other folks.
Oh, yeah, it's not an easy subject. It's very difficult.
But so the issue becomes one, because I do see that the potential for damage to road is much greater in these remote sugar woods, that they're having these storage tanks and coming. On the other hand, it sounds like you wouldn't need a permit for the pickup truck with a tank and back, and yet they're doing more damage to that very same road.
And I agree with that.
That's
I
why
do.
we hit someone, don't, they see a pickup truck, they don't relate that to a heavy truck.
Well, I'll check, I can check in with Ag as well
Yeah,
as
they have the
Vermont League of Cities sometimes. I talked to our town clerk about it, and she said there are two minds. One, her family does sugaring, so she understands the need to move the sap, but also they maintain the roads, and they're like, we don't want them on the roads when the roads are that wet.
Last year, they were terrible.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, that last year sort of, so I don't know if there's a way, they just like have to notice the town, so the town is aware or something.
Truck it at night on the road, or, I don't know.
Well, they try to
A lot
do
of
that.
loggers will do that, you know.
But some nights they don't freeze.
Right.
Okay, I don't think we're live. I don't think we're finished. Peter Welch was supposed to stop in at 11, so.
Just barely.
Want to go off